The UK's relationship with the EU changed dramatically, but did everyone wake up and suddenly the whole UK is in riots and chaos? No, that's what I didn't see on the streets. But in the years to come, there will be a lot of changes due to EU funding, sports and issues that everyone faces. But let's ask everyone: does anyone feel any different? Does anyone have a limp now or a headache?
Happy that we out of the EU personally.
Why do you feel happy, Jeff?
Well, because the EU is like unelected bureaucrats to control all of the EU. And now, about it out of the EU, we're not out properly, but now that we voted to be out, it's going to be harder for them to control us because they have no say in our rules. And now that it's just going to be our parliament who's going to be putting our rules to us. So we know who we are and we elect them to be, Prime Minister.
So you would prefer to listen to elected people, government leaders of the UK?
People actually in the UK, instead of rich billionaires, we just tell us what to do because they can.
To be honest, I've thought about it as like, I was about it like it was in your house that someone had let us in your house because they couldn't deal with what made your house and everyone together great, that they felt that they need to go out on their own, and I feel like that can be disappointing in that leaving a group and we're leaving our leaving our group and leaving our friends really, and it's not the same when you're working from the outside and the friends still together having time of their lives.
I mean, for me personally, what I don't guess about the EU, I know I've studied a little bit of it. Now, one of the arguments when people say leave the EU because they control us, but hang on a second, we're actually a member of them. Do we actually control the other 27 states as well?
Yeah.
For example, there's arguments, Turkey's going to come in. Actually, if UK didn't want Turkey to come in, they could veto it. Even if every other state, we want Turkey in. They could veto it and then Turkey doesn't enter.
Just bringing it back to the question. When I woke up, no, I didn't feel different. I don't think change happens that way. It's not that kind of seismic. But I was sad. I'm very shocked because I really didn't think that it would go that way. I'm sad because I think there are a lot of problems in the EU, and I think if it's to be sorted out, even for our own future outside the EU, we're still going to be very dependent on what happens in the EU. I don't think we can ever be totally independent. We're not, China. We're not the United States. So I think if we wanted to make sure that the EU is reformed, we should have been inclusive and should have been inside it and making changes instead of being excluded and not being able to influence. Because I think that's a lot of things we're going to lose. We're going to lose a lot of influence in the world stage if we're not part of it.
So the Mead in the UK says that it's, you hear from the Chancellor of Germany where the UK is in political turmoil. That's interesting. And you see on the news you've got the pounds fell. You've got, it's a big disaster, but everyday life, has it changed? I believe it hasn't. I believe that in the future it might, but the Lisbon contract, the Article 50, it might take years, it might take 10, 15, it could take 100 years, but it will take a long time to make any difference to everyday lives. And you said you come to the UK recently. Have you seen any change since you woke up from the UK you first come to study?
Everything's more quiet now. Everything is more quiet. People are just quiet. They're not talking about this anymore, and they're not shouting into your face.
See, I feel like that's all that everyone's talking about. It's all you see on social media. It's all you see on the radio.
It's different. What you can see now is the outcome. It's just post-war arguments, but the battle is done. It was already sorted. What I feel at the moment now, how my personal influence is, I just feel tension. Because what you can see everywhere is just attack on foreigners, verbally or physically. Nothing happened to me, and I believe nothing is going to happen to me. So, in reality, I should not be afraid or anything. But I do feel tension, and I do feel tension with among my friends as well. In London, in here, it's a bit different. I know it's going to be gone in a few weeks, but at the moment, I do feel a bit of a change.
See, Anna's question, is anyone scared? No one knows, no government leader knows actually what's going to happen. It's never happened before. So it's the fear of the unknown kind of thing.
Yeah. Do people know what's going to happen anyway? Like, can people see in the future? I mean, do people know what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Even if we did?
I agree with that, but if we were to say to remain in the EU, we would just say it would be the same as the old days. You know, it would nothing would have changed. But it's the fact that we've made a drastic change now. It means that it's a different outcome. So we can't now say, oh, we've been doing this for a few years. It's gonna crack on. It's the big change that no one knows what's
I
going on.
agree with you in one sense, Jan, is that none of us can see in the future, but it's the sort of the relative knowing about, well, if we were to stay in the EU, we know that things would stay the same.
Yeah.
Something big might happen, I agree with you, but we don't know what Britain is going to be like in 2 years' time, whereas people, you know, we've got to now renegotiate every trade agreement and every other kind of agreement that we have with Europe and with other countries. Whereas if before we could continue with that, then we'd have some sort of like base to think, well, in the future we know that we'll still be trading with these countries because they're in the EU, and I think
It's scary,
it's quite scary.
because we've not done it before, we're doing it all on our own. There's no other, we haven't got like another country to follow, and if we mess it up, we haven't got someone that comes to the rescue. Because like, we've signed ourselves away from these other 27 countries now, we leave Malta, and well, then if we get in trouble, we can't take them 27 countries, they can even give us a hand.
Yeah, you guys remember, we've only been in the EU for 57 years.
That's
43,
43, yes.
We survived without the EU a lot longer.
Yeah, so as
when we were surviving without the EU wasn't as big, and there wasn't other countries like China and India that were also, they were still third world countries. They're now, you know, becoming superpowers. The world's a different place.
Britain changed a lot.
Britain's
Just in 50 years, a lot changed here while being in the European Union. We got used to different things. You know, I don't think it's... I mean, people do remember what was before, but I don't think we can go back to that. I mean, I wasn't here, I can't speak about it, but...
Do you think that there's also, I mean, I always think there's a backlash to everything, so it's almost a fear of the unknown. And if you think about it, every 4 years, it happens in this country every 4 years. The government gets in and they just get rid of NHS, get rid of schools, they bring in academies. And I just think sometimes people should just calm down a bit, and it's a bit of this fear of the unknown. And if you think about it, no one knows what tomorrow's going to be for anyone.
I believe the media, yeah.
But we don't have time to know.
I think the media, is gonna...
Well, the media's doing okay.
Yeah, but the media, I think, they stirred up.
Yeah.
No way, they stirred up the country, and now, if anything, they're probably paying for it, but they're probably going to pay for that because what they said.
But also, I think they're making programs, the BBC, it's controlled by the government, by the way, but it's almost kind of, now it's being stirred up again by them. Every day they keep on putting ideas in people's heads, and really, there should be someone who's going to tell the people the truth, really. You know, someone sit down and have a proper debate. The way we are now, it's all about it.
That's just true, like, in terms of like informing people being more informed, proper debates. But you know, like if you look at, you know, like in terms of like how people vote and whatever. To be honest with you, if you're going to fight for something, you got to fight for something with your eyes open. But if you fight with the eyes closed, to me, you're likely to fail. The problem is, for me, if you look at the EU, we know what it is and things like that. Our eyes are open. But when people don't know what will happen if it leaves, you're fighting with your eyes closed. So therefore, you know, you're putting yourself at a risk. Because if your eyes are closed, you're like that, you can't see, you know, to fight, you don't know where to go. Or at least if your eyes closed, you know where to focus.
So that's the end of our debate about the EU. So I think that next step is now we don't know what's going to happen. We've heard our views. What do we do now? We've got to educate the young people. We've got to say that this is the facts, this is the law, this is what we know and this is what we don't know. You've got to sometimes be honest and say we don't know and we just have to wait and see. And that's what we're doing in Yellow House. We're providing, like Steph said, this is informal education. Is that we give opportunities for young people to express their opinion and not to have anyone being discriminated against them. And so we're doing this informal education in our centre, in the city centre in Liverpool, but we're also reaching out to schools, doing workshops on, the refugee crisis and the EU referendum, about teaching, hopefully everyone in Liverpool just about what to do and how to react. Thanks.